Hello everyone, it's Carrie at Inky Bee Journals and Ephemera. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time visiting my channel, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It's lovely to have new faces. So today we are continuing on with the Shabby Pink Roses journal, which is this journal that we've been working on for so far 8 parts. And we are up to part 9, and today we will be working on adding in some tags, larger tags than what we've done in a previous video, and working on making some writing cards or journaling cards. So if you haven't seen parts 1 through to 8 of this series so far and you would like to, I will put a link in the description box below. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there will be a link there for a playlist titled Junk Journal Tutorials, and all of the previous parts to this journal and previous journals and future journals will go into that playlist. Now, because we are working on some form of ephemera things today, anytime I record a video that has ephemera holders or some type of ephemera or embellishments of any sort of description, they all fall under the same sort of heading, so they will go into the ephemera ideas playlist, which I will also link in the description box below for you. Okay, so since I was on last, I have added this closure because it is quite a chunky journal. It's become really chunky, as you can see. It's practically doubled in size across the front here as opposed to what it is in the spine here. It has 4 signatures in it. This is a 2-inch spine, and I think I measured this to be about 4.5 inches now. But this is bulked up because of the lace and because of some of the embellishments and pockets and things that are within the pages, but that often does happen when you make journals. And because there are 4 signatures in here, I've done some work ahead of time and added a lot of things into the first 3 signatures, and I can do what we need to do today for the last signature. And the reason I do it this way instead of recording everything for you is because I don't want to bore you with too much repetitive action, and it is a lot of extra recording time to edit, and so to cut some of that extra work out, I've just done this ahead of time off camera, but I will still show you how we're making these today. So to give you an example of what we're making today, I turned this closure into basically a big ribbon belly band. Now, if I wanted to, I could undo the ribbon and undo the bow, but I have it sitting nicely and I didn't want to keep undoing it and doing it up and trying to get it to sit nicely. So I have basically just tied it around underneath the journal and then tied it into a bow until I was happy with it. But because it is flexible enough, I'm able to just slide it on and off as a belly band closure. And I've done the bases ready for today, so I have a few different things here to do with you, but what they will look like is, and I will just go through here to show you. So this is one of the writing boards or journaling cards, sorry, and I haven't really decorated them much. It's just I like to enjoy the papers, so I don't do too much in the way of decorating. However, if you like to decorate more, there's no reason you can't decorate yours more if that's what you'd like to do. On the other side, I have just added some coffee dyed paper, and this has given it a bit of extra strength. And then I have cut around the edges with a corner rounder, and I've just done some inking around the edge. So they're fairly plain and simple, but they are easy enough to make. So that's one thing we will be doing today. Another thing we'll be doing today is another type of journaling card, which just looks like this and goes in these envelope pockets, these flipping envelope pockets, and it just has a tab on the side, and once again they have some coffee dyed paper on the other side and some inking around the edges, so they are also something we will make today. And they just slide in there like that, and then we will be making a simple tag like this. Now these are just going into the top loading pockets of these envelope side pockets. These also have, these envelope pockets also have a piece of coffee dyed paper in here that have just been cut to size to fit in the envelope. I've just rounded the corners and inked around the edges, so they just go in there like that. And that can just be a journaling piece or something you can draw on or whatever. So these are just top loading pockets that slide in the top here, and once again it is just a piece of decorative paper on the front backed with coffee dyed paper. The corners have been cut on an angle, and I've just slightly rounded the corners on the bottom side and then added a little bit of ink around the outer edge. And then we will also do one of these. Now this is another type of journaling card. It's a flip open piece. Now I had forgotten to actually print on the other side of this paper, so it's white, and that's not going to bother me, but if I was selling or giving this away, I'd make sure I hadn't left that just white. But it's just cut to size to fit into this little side loading tuck here, and again all I've done is rounded the corners and inked around the edges. And then these side tucks, which are the other side of these double side tuck flip out pockets that we've made. I've just made another one of these sorts of journaling tags, again like the other one. So we'll make these today. So that just gives you an example of how they will look once they're done. The only thing that's really changed is some of the designs on the paper. So without further ado, let's get started. So as I said, I've done some work ahead of time. I've actually already backed these pieces with paper. Now these were printed on 120, I think, GSM paper, which is still a little bit flimsy for a tag, and I wanted to make them a little bit more rigid without making them too thick, because as you can see, these are still quite thin, and I didn't want them to be too flimsy, but I didn't want them to be too thick either. So I thought a couple of pieces of paper together would make it just the right thickness. So all I've done is I've cut them to the size that I need them to be. In this case, they're about 3 inches across by about 6 inches in length, in height, and I have then just put glue on the back, and I did use a glue stick just so that when I glue them down there's no risk of any ridges from the glue. And I've just stuck them down on another piece of paper. I just stuck them down like that. So I've just been using old documents that came in the mail that are no longer needed for anything. So if you're looking for a way to recycle some of your old papers lying around, that's what I've done. I've just stuck them down like this, Then I cut them out, and then I glued them again, and I glued them down onto a piece of coffee dyed paper, and then I've cut them out again. And that's how I've ended up with this smooth area. Each time I glued them down, I did go over them with my bone folder like this on both sides, just to help make sure that that's nice and smooth and well stuck. Now, if you find that they're curling a little bit, that tends to happen when you're gluing them. What you can do, however, is if you can get a nice heavy book. I have this heavy book here. It was a book that my brother had, and it's the heaviest book I've got. So I find putting them under this heavy book helps for a little while to flatten them out. You could also use a couple of reams of, 1 or 2 reams of paper or cardstock or something like that. Just putting a bit of weight on them for a little while will help flatten them out. So what we need to do now is start finishing off these tags and things. So I am going to, I know this is going to be a tag, so I'm going to angle these corners here. Now I'm going to use my 3-way angle paper punch with 3 different sizes in here. If you do not have one of these, you can possibly use, if you have them available to you, I have these templates for things like that give me different sizes. You could also freehand them with a ruler and a pen and then cut them across, or you can just freehand them with your scissors or your craft knife if that's what you have. But for today's video, I'm just going to use one of these, and I will link one of these in the description box below for you. So the only thing I'm going to suggest is that you double check if you have a directional paper, that you have your paper facing the right way, because you want to make sure the angles are at the top. So you want your images to be facing the right way up. I'm just going to turn this over upside down, and I'm going to put the corner into this slot here, and I'm going to use the biggest size, and I'm going to bring it into here so that the corner of the paper is in the top corner of the triangle underneath, like that, and then I'm just going to punch. So there you have your angle punch. Your little pieces will tend to fly all over the place when you do that, and I'm going to do this for the other side as well. And I'll just move those across. So that's done, and now we're just going to do a little rounding at the bottom corner. So again, I'm going to use my 3-way rounding punch that works exactly the same way as the angle punch does. Again, if you don't have one of these, I will link one of these in the description box for you. And another option you can have is to have some type of template like this, or if you can freehand it with your scissors or a pencil and something to trace, and then cut it out. You can do it that way if you like. So again, I'm just going to put this into the paper cutter and punch those corners so that they round. And then the last thing I need to do is just get some ink. Now I'm just going to quickly run over these edges. Inking is not something that you have to do. It's just something I like to do to just help hide the white edges of the tag where it's been cut. Because when we cut into paper that has a pattern or a colour on the surface, you will often find that it is just a white edge where it's been cut. So I am just covering that up. Now I am using a Tim Holtz Ranger Distress Oxide Victorian Velvet. You do not have to use this ink. In fact, you don't need to use ink at all. You don't have to do anything that I'm doing this way. There are different ways to make things. This is just how I do it. If you are interested, this is a finger dauber, and I will also link these below and the ink below if you are interested. I just get these things from Amazon, and I'll just quickly go around these like this. It just puts a tiny border of a hue around the edges. I don't know if the camera picks that up, but it's just a very fine border, and it just finishes it off that little bit. So we've got the first thing done. Now if you want to, you can go ahead and put an eyelet in here, or punch a hole in an eyelet and put something at the top. I'm not going to do that with these, but that's just my choice because I want to have plenty of space for writing. So we've got that one done, so we'll put that aside. The second thing we're going to do today is one of these larger, or what I'm calling a larger writing tag. So this has already been backed, so it's had the white paper and then a piece of coffee dyed paper on there, and then it's been put under the heavy book. It's still got a little bit of a curl, but over time when it's been in the book it will actually flatten out quite well. So again, we're going to do these corners, but we're not going to put angle corners on these ones. We're going to use the corner rounder, and we're going to use the largest option in the corner, three-way corner rounder. So we'll just put that in there and punch, and we'll do this on all four sides. Now I must stress too, if you are using these, please make sure that anytime you've glued anything, that you let the glue adequately dry before you go ahead and use one of these punches or any type of paper punch, because if you don't, you will likely jam up your paper cutter and potentially tear or damage your project, and you don't want to do that if you can help it. So the next thing I'm going to do with this again is just run over the edges with the ink, just to hide all of those white edges where it's been cut with the trimmer and the paper cutter, the paper punch. And I'm just going to repeat that on the other side. So this journal has had quite a few parts to it so far. It's been a long series. We're doing part 9, and in the next video will be probably the last one for making things for this journal, because in the next video we will actually make a writing board to go in the journal, to go in the pocket in the back. So that is our first journaling card, the larger of them. So we've got that done. Then I have another journaling card to make. So like the last one, we'll do the corner angle at the top, making sure that my image is the right way up, and they appear to be. And get rid of those little corner pieces. I'm just going to round with the smallest option the very bottom. Now another reason why we might want to round the bottom of these corners, you don't have to, it's just my personal choice, but the reason I do it is when you are putting tags into a pocket that might be maybe a little bit of a tight fit, you might find that rounding the bottom corners like this just helps them slide in that little bit easier. But it's not something you have to do, it's just my personal preference. So I hope everybody is doing well. Are you enjoying your weekend? I hope you are. I am filming on a Sunday, and over the last few days my mum and I have been watching the Olympics on the TV and watching all of the different types of sports and cheering on our Olympians, and it's always great to see who's won medals, and even if they don't, I think they all deserve to be called winners for even having a go. Even the achievement of being able to qualify to go to the Olympics, I think, is pretty cool. That's a great achievement on its own. Okay, so we have that tag done as well. Now we've come to this. Now this is one of those journaling cards where you open it up and you can write on the inside. Again, this is a piece that didn't get an ink colour on the other side, but I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm just going to round these corners here with my corner rounder, and I'm going to use the larger size in this to do these corners. And this side, and then once again we're just going to use the ink to go around the edge. And I am going to do a little bit along this folded edge, the spine, and then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do the same thing, go along that spine edge and then go along the edges all the way around the outside. Just like that. Okay, now if you want to, you can open this up and ink around the inside as well. So that is completed like that. And then the last thing we need to do is the journaling card, the smaller journaling card that will have the tab on the side. So again, this has already been backed, and now we just need to round these four corners. So again, I'm just going to use my 3-way corner punch. Just like that. Swish those on the floor, and well, that's what we have a vacuum cleaner for, isn't it? Now, to make the tab, I am going to use a scrap piece of cardstock that I have folded in half, and I'm going to just glue a thin strip here, and I'm going to glue that between these two pieces, and I'll show you why I do that. And it is because I have a tag punch here, and when I open this, and this needs to go in, if I don't put this extra piece glued between here, I will not have enough to hang on to slide that in. So what I'm actually going to do is use a little bit of glue, and I'll just grab a piece of this glue here, and I'm just going to run that across like that, and I'm just going to stick that down in there, and that will become my little holding piece when I put it into the paper punch here. And I will try to link one of these whale tail paper punches in the description box. But there are other ways you can make these. So I'm just going to slide that in there like that. And because I've glued this white piece on, I've got something to hang on to move it around. So when I'm happy with where it is, I'm just going to punch, and then we can put that aside, and then we have our little whale tail tab, which will just go on the side like this. So I'm going to put this glue away, and I'm going to grab some of this art glitter glue, and which is this glue here. You do not have to use this glue, it's just my glue of choice, but if you are interested, I will link this below for you. And all I'm going to do is just put a little bit of glue on both sides on the inside of this tab, and then I'm just going to place that on the side somewhere in the middle, roughly in the middle, and I'm just going to press that down like that. Put the pin back in my glue, and I'll just close this up. And then the last thing we need to do is just ink around these edges again. Again, it is just a personal preference. It's not something you have to do. If you like the way it looks, then you can ink, and you can use whatever colour and whatever ink you prefer to use. And if you don't like the look of it, or you don't like to deal with ink, because it can be a little bit messy sometimes, but if you don't want to deal with it, or you don't like the way that it looks, then that's okay. You don't have to ink yours. And I'm just going to turn it over, and I'm going to repeat that process on the other side, just to give that tiny little bit of colour on the edges and hide the white on the edge of the paper where it's all been cut. Okay. So when I move these out the way, we have actually completed all of our pieces. So we have this tag, this writing card, another tag, and another writing card with a tab on the side. So we can now add these into our journal, into the last signature, and I've already put the others in the front half of this signature, so we can go to the second half of the signature, and we can add this one in, and we can take this little paper clip out, then we can add the next piece, which will go here. So this is where the larger journal tags are going, journal cards are going. And again, I can just take that little paper clip out. And then we have a side tuck here, and that is where this one will go. Sorry, no, where is it? This will go in there. That's right. And then this tag will go in here, in the top there. So I can take this paper clip out, and in this pocket here is already a piece of coffee dyed paper that has been folded, and that can be a journaling space. And then in this flipping envelope pocket here, we can put our journaling tag with the tab on the side, and that just goes in there like that. And we can remove this little paper clip, and then we have almost finished this journal. The last thing I need to do is make a writing board to go into this pocket here, and we will do that in the next video. And then after that I will do a video of a complete flip through of this journal. So that is the video for today. I'll just put this back on, and again, this is just a belly band style closure. So I'm just going to slide this on like that. There we go. And that's just a bit easier than undoing it and doing it up again all the time. So I will leave the video there, and we'll work on the last item in the next video. That will be the writing board. So yeah, if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that YouTube can inform you when I have uploaded new videos for you. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time. Bye.